All right. So on the daily chart, still in an uptrend, upper Bollinger Band trending up. So as price, I think we almost retested it. Yeah, we almost retested the prior print in pre-market today. So very simple, in an uptrend, no reason to go against. Now to the multi-layout, the 30-minute chart. The daily's basically, it's going to be the same until we either flatten on a plateau with the 5-day MA. We'll go over that real quick. The way for price to flip, you either want to see a taper or retest of major levels, right? So if we retest for, say, we have some selling to the 20-day MA, right? Then we can get more interested in looking for short setups as we retest major levels, grab more liquidity, and close inverse cups, right? Or you wait for the 5-day MA to plateau, which indicates a lack of continuation and a taper at the top, right? Now to the multi-layout. Simply, we're buying up within the orange or yellow here. We do have this blue, but as of now, price is currently trending above it. So we'll watch for continuation there. Or if there is a lack of continuation, we'll watch for the head and shoulder off of the yellow 694 level, right? That'll be the earliest. Very simply, in a buying continuation, no reason to go against this unless the sellers show up and start breaking and reclaiming levels, right? You want to see a clear rejection, right? Keep it simple for yourself. Don't overtrade today. If this really wants to sell, there's a lot of confirmations you can get, right? The first will be at the 694 level, then the retest of 5-day MA, and then you could also just wait for retests of areas like 690, which is where other cups close um, from the prior day. And yeah, if we get down to there, obviously then the 20-day MA becomes more realistic. I don't think we'll retest it today. I know there's more news coming out tomorrow, so more likely to retest it after that news comes out, if they are to retest it. So very simple today. In an uptrend on all time frames, you want to go short, you can wait for the head and shoulder to appear, or inverse cups closing. Any long setup, buying continuation structure, simply, right? Watch for the precision, watch for liquidity to build. Keep an eye on the Qs as well today. Okay. Upper Bollinger Band, 698.78. Trending up with price. 5-day MA about 6 points above the 20-day MA now. Right, so price is in a pretty strong uptrend. Whatever you do, don't allow the market to confuse you on what's going on, right? The higher time frames are always going to give you a clear context, right? If you see some selling candles and think the market's going to dump because of that, you're doing it wrong, right? That's quite literally them trapping you, right? Always, always, always wait for major retests of levels, or just wait for a proper head and shoulder to appear, right? Even then, right? If you don't got a strong enough precision, you always wait, or you scale down on anything, right? For everybody here who's newer, you should not be trading the first, truthfully, probably the first 15 minutes if you're uh, quite new. There isn't normally a setup that you should be looking for that early on. If you're following the rules of one major setup and done, the first thing you want to do is establish who's in control, right? Um, so, for example, or who lacks control with imbalance is also very a viable play as well. So, for example, if we were to start selling today, right, and you see a green precision appear and it heads down right to the 694 level, right? You can ideally then look for liquidity to build and the bears to have a continuation structure, right? You don't see that, no reason to take an entry. That's what you're supposed to be doing within the open, right? See who has control. When you get better, you can learn to scalp it. But even then, you're normally better off just waiting for the proper setup to appear. All right, so if all of you guys aren't or haven't done it yet, make sure you're looking at the 30-minute, the multi-layout chart here. See where we're at. Right, blue taper right above, but still within the buying continuation algos, right? before you ever even take a trade, right? If you're thinking of taking a trade this early, you need to calculate the range, right? And check how large the range is. It's not very much, right? I always say, um, I want to at least, if I could, 1.5 and above. 1 point plus is better, right? If it's not even a point, there's really nothing. 1.5 is a lot better, especially now. I mean, well, it's gonna differ with volatility, right? So the IV is low, so a 1 point range. It's not bad. I would still prefer larger though. 1.5 is much, much better. Simply, the larger the range, the more volatile it is, the more error margin of error you can have, right? You can get protected if the range is large, right? As candles like this, where there'd be larger candles, could appear for you to protect, right? So when it's a very tight range, sure, your stop can be very tight, but at the same time, you have to realize that your setup may not be the type of setup you're looking for if you're trying to, like what you sent to Raja. Um, if you're looking for a setup you can scale up on, right? Taking one, maybe up to 2 or 3 trades a day, you wait for the larger setups to appear, right? You don't take trades like this. This is to you, this is liquidity building. It's still within this range, not ideal to take anything, right? Ideally, you see that this is just liquidity building, right? Not much going on. Uh, Wait for some sort of head to form, right? If we're gonna sell, right, ideally this. Vice versa, if this is to head up, 5-day MA is best. All right, you'd get in a starter position here with the yellow, or sorry, with the teal, head forming down below, and then likely this right shoulder to appear later on. All right, that's what we want to see. Get out of that range. If you zone read any puts near the top, it's possible. I didn't. I'm going to wait for a proper structure to appear. It's just not worth it for me to take anything before that. This is great though. We get confirmation on algos. Knowing who has control. Qs have not pushed past their low a day. Do keep an eye on that. Okay, still best to wait for a follow-up structure. You took the retracement near magenta, that's completely fine, right? Not ideal overall, but for a morning scalp, not the worst decision. I still haven't. Why? Because we're just now forming up a 1.27 range now, right? For me, it's not ideal to take anything in such a tight range. I will wait. Instead, right, what I want to see, if we retest this level, uh, maybe we'll get a continuation structure within the teal, right? Could see something like this, but really, you're looking for that magenta control again, right? So if you're not in an entry, what should you be doing? Well, you're gathering information, right? You're in no position. That's okay. You want to see if there's a continuation structure. Simple as that, right? Now, I know I've said on the daily and on the multi layout, right, on the 30 minute, right, um, we're in an uptrend, right? Simple, right? But on the 1 minute chart, you're always following, you're still following structure through the 1 minute, right? Your entry is based off the 1 minute. It's best if your entry can be lining up with the 30 minute and daily, but if it doesn't, you could scale down always, right? The less confirmation in an entry, it is what it is. Um, but at the end of the day, the structures in the 1 minute are what you're looking at. Keep an eye on the Qs as well. They still have not closed their inverse cup, have not retested low day. All right, wait for a proper structure. If you are scalping shorts because of the resistant wick here, you have to be protecting that's basically a two candle trade, right? You need to be in and out as soon as you get a candle like this that appears, right? I'm not taking that. I'll still wait. Keep an eye on the cues. That was a retest of the yellow algo on the 30-minute here, tapering from the blue. Be careful when you get a lot of engulfing candles like this. This is still not very ideal to be taking position. Truthfully, to go long, I'd still rather it head down deeper, right, to form the inverted head and shoulder at this area. And then again, if this pink break here, if we close the cup, retracement here, also not too bad. So you see how this would line up. Very simply, you're still looking for selling continuation, right? Any long in this area has to be a Zomi, has to be protected ASAP. I'd recommend against doing that until at least teal break, especially when we still have the 5-day MA target right below. Keep in mind we're still within QQQ's range, but ideally we do retest the 5-day MA. I'm gonna make a line to its highest print. This is where orders may be sitting at. Wait for a head here, very simply, right? If there's going to be a breakdown, allow the green precision to appear and grab a retracement if you have to take this. This isn't ideal to take. I would like to see this head and shoulder appear. It's still not that good of a structure here. Just keep that in mind. I still would prefer it to dig a bit deeper and go a bit higher. If you are taking retracements, protect. Okay, I was able to take small size in this candle. Reason I do it here is because you get confirmation. Look at the volume at 10:01, right? The volume started increasing, right? This was buyers getting trapped. You could have taken it here as well. I didn't take it. I didn't like the entry there. I get confirmation. I take the entry here. Not too bad of a trade. All right, we have a target below being the 5-day MA. It's the low hanging fruit. This is the trade to get there, right? This may look like puts at support. It's not, right? Why? They did break down the level. They retraced it as resistance, and then they started to sell once more, right? So the green precision at this prior support was broken down, which means this is a retracement turning this level resistance, right? You need to understand though, it's because they already grabbed the orders, right? They grabbed all the orders off and attempted to sell. You could see with the volume increase, right? Now, if there's an inverted head and shoulder, I would have liked a proper retest, but it makes it a lot more ideal now. Okay, be careful now. Yeah, it looks like the sellers could be getting trapped here. Whatever you do, just wait for teal or magenta, right? Be very wary of shorting this now. Buyers have shown green precision. Allow more liquidity to build, right? If it wants to head down early, right, what's going to happen is it'll build structure within this juncture down below and then attempt to sell, right? You'll see it with magenta. And it would be best if it does it like this in a nested form, right? Build liquidity here, push it up, and then break down. I'll wait because I don't see much liquidity built here yet. I just see bears likely getting trapped. So I'll wait. Another thing to point out for this position here, right? The 694.59 level becoming resistance, right? Very important. Right, this is where the liquidity level was prior. So its breakdown was going to be nice, right? But still in an uptrend, right? Any short until inverse cups close, right? You have to be very patient. Take profits, be ready for the reversal, especially when you're going against an uptrend like this so far. On the daily and multi 30-minute. Okay, the sellers are attempting. Watch the magenta. I'd still like to see this. Why? There's not much liquidity here. If it's gonna come early, allow it to break down, right? Like this. Kind of like what we had here. If you take it here, if you're going short here, you're gonna likely get caught out. It's not worth it. Right, so either we form a nested or we break down like this. Right, sellers are attempting. Teal's in your way. If you take it with the green precision, you have to be stopped out with the green precision break. Right. There may be a better retracement. That may be something you want to wait for, especially with the 5 DMA right below. If it's not easy, right, or if it's not clear, you can always just wait for the next structure as well. This one will be better anyways, right? Be very careful with the 5-day MA here. Okay, you see I've added the blue precision here. This is now the more dominant one over the teal. QQQ retesting its 5-day MA now as well. Nice. All right. So I was able to take one more position here, right off of this retest. Why? Because the buyer's here, right? You saw in the order book, well, if you're watching the volume here, they couldn't break out of this blue, right? It was very important to see if they were going to break out of this blue, right? That's why I drew it out. I wanted to make sure that they weren't buying quite yet, right? If the buyers here off the 5-day MA were to break out of blue here, this would have made it a little bit easier to go long, right? Then you would have seen this occur. That didn't happen, right? So instead, I see the sell orders coming back in. That means the buyers who just bought here are liquidity for the next move down off 5-day MA. So I take this move to get to the next print of where 5-day MA is. Not very easy to see. This downtrend is, it's more of a grind, right? This isn't easy to trade. There's not uh, good builds of liquidities and then offloading, right? They're just grinding it down, which you have to be very cautious then, as if they start to taper, right, this inverted head and shoulder could start to appear with the 5-day MA. So just be cautious, right? But if you've got profits for today, great job. This is not the easiest kind of selling. Still, nonetheless, profits, right? If you found them. And whatnot. Yeah, so far we'll see if this has continuation past the 5-day MA. Remember what we're looking for on the higher time frames, right? We're looking to see if an inverted head and shoulder will either appear off of this, or if this yellow break, which it's testing now, by the way, which lines up beautifully with the 5-day MA, breaks and retraces 5-day as resistance, right? So how would you see that on the chart now, right? If they sell off, retrace as resistance, right? This would be yellow algo flipping, turning resistance to sell even further. If that happens, great. If that doesn't happen, that's okay, right? Just be cautious now. We've reached a target. We may see liquidity building start to occur, though the selling will continue as long as it's within this blue. You may see a larger, it could still technically continue within the teal as well, but it may need to take a little bit more time once this teal is retested and if it can't sell past this level. I would like to see then if they form a head and shoulder to the downside. If you've made no trades today, that's okay. It's not easy to trade this, right? I've stated before, it's okay. You're learning. I want you to just understand what's going on, right? Look at the higher time frames, right? We had a taper at blue, right? That was something we pointed out. Where did we first want to see the breakdown happen? 694.59 for the head and shoulder. Where's my first entry at? Once 694.59 becomes resistance, right? I wanted to see that happen. Saw that happen. Where does my next entry come at? When this 5-day MA print gets retested. Why am I waiting for these areas? Because these are the retests of liquidity, right? These are going to have good breakdowns if they break, right? And you see that happen. By the way, I got this fill here, if you're wondering, about 2 seconds before it shot straight down. So got a little lucky in the fill there. If I waited 2 seconds longer, I wouldn't have got it. This fill here, right? As soon as I saw uh, basically 30 seconds in, 10:20, I knew it wasn't headed up at the blue resistance. I can take the trade, right? Simple as that. But yeah, um, with that being said, I want you guys to understand now it's likely to slow down at this level. Um, don't go long in the blue precision, please. If you're taking anything long beforehand, you better know how to Zomi. If you don't know how to Zomi, don't take it, right? It's not worth your time. Um, Instead, I would rather you wait for a valid structure to appear here. And I'll point out some in a bit. Let's get these pink levels drawn out all the way. Yeah, right now it's not worth your time. It's going to be better to wait for a proper structure, right? Um, any long at this point, right? We got the 5-day MA. Allow pink to appear, right? Let's see if it gets range bound within this area. And look for a head to form, right? This would be ideal to see. With that being said, I do expect this to start chopping now. I don't expect it to continue down hard. Um, it just wouldn't make sense with it. Obviously, I can't predict the market, right? Um, anybody who tells you that, by the way, is lying. Don't listen to them. Nobody has any clue what's going to happen next. But what I can do is assess and analyze what I have. Um, and on the higher time frames, I see that we just retested the yellow support algo, which is a buying precision, by the way, and 5-day MA support, right? But on the 1 minute, we're still in the selling continuation. Until teal breaks, technically bear flags can still form, right? And even after it technically can with pink when it appears, but you have to be a lot more cautious and wait for magenta to show its control. So I think we're going to build liquidity, right? I don't think this is going to shoot straight up. If it shoots straight up, I can just wait for the pink algos above to either A, close a cup, or form me an inverted head and shoulder within, right? I'm never too worried about waiting for the next trade, right? You'll see I waited for proper confirmation, still got some trades in. I didn't have to go short up here. I didn't need to take anything early that I didn't like, right? I wait for confirmation. when when the when there's not great fills, because today I'm not gonna lie, it was very hard to trade, right? This is not an easy sell-off to trade, right? Some people will just take puts and pray. Um, that's not the way to do it. Did we have an idea that it could sell to the 5-day MA though? Yeah, of course, right? Makes sense on all time frames if we build a nested inverted head and shoulder here. Why? There wasn't much liquidity at the top. We were tapering out off the blue, right? So seeing the breakdown, that's not very hard to tell was going to happen, but entering and seeing it are uh, two separate entities, right? A lot of people will get good at knowing what the market will want to do, but not everybody will get good at how to entering it, right? So you need to learn how to enter with precision. You need to understand that it's a game of risk to reward metrics, right? And as long as you can make sure it's in your favor every trade, you can do it. You can do it every day in and out, right? It doesn't matter, right? So yeah, just truthfully try to understand that. You'll do a lot better. You want to make sure you're understanding what the algos mean, right? Don't start don't start trading with a method that you don't understand yet. Truthfully, go learn it, right? I've talked a lot about it in the last few recordings, so if you haven't seen those, right, or haven't been reviewing those, go review them. Um, if you were here, still go review them. They'll help you a lot. But yeah, try your best to learn as much as you possibly can. Don't don't try to make money now. If you just give yourself time to learn and trade efficiently, if you were waiting for proper setups, you do a lot better, right? Now today there hasn't been a spectacular setup, right? Um, sure, this early setup, if you caught it, good job. It's a scalp technically. You could have taken it off the retracement as well. That's also fair. But this is more for confirmation. What I would have loved to have seen is this head and shoulder here formed to break down. But instead, what do we get? We got a break and retrace, right? So it is what it is. I had the green precision to take puts, right? I can do that with the green precision. It's my resistance level, right? It lines up after the breakdown off of this level here occurs, right? So I can take position. Um, Obviously, I'm not going to scale up unless I have a proper structure, so it's all scaled down. Again, right, you see this level here with the blue precision breaking it down, right? So we sell down and we break it down like this, right? With the blue precision off the 5-day MA liquidity, um, well, the opening print wasn't strong enough to break us out of blue. The inverted head and shoulder isn't forming, right? Not yet, at least it wasn't at that point, right? So, all right, with that being said, I'm going to get on out of here. Hopefully everybody here learned something. If you didn't trade today, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Instead, try to take in as much information as you possibly can. You don't need to trade every day, the whole day. I'd rather you finish within the hour, within 2 hours, right? Um, and if you don't see a setup within the first hour that you like, come back later. Simple as that, right? Why trade when you don't see good trades? That never made sense to me. You don't need to make money today. You don't, right? You need to learn today. Because if you learn today and learn the proper rule set later on, you can take just about any setup you see, right? Um, but first, you need to follow a good metric system. You need to learn the right habits, right? You'll learn that the best trade setups, they come maybe 3 times a day, right? Sometimes once, sometimes twice, most times three, right? So just wait. If you don't see it in the morning or you miss it in the morning, come back later, right? If you miss the sell off, truthfully, it's not that great of a setup. I still think that we're going to get the inverted head and shoulder off of this level if we can retest and build liquidity off the 5-day MA here. Um, I don't I don't think the sellers are in control. Why? Higher time frames tell me that. If the sellers are in control, am I ready for it? Yes, I have magenta, right? I can just wait for magenta. All right then, I'm getting on out of here. Everybody take care and don't overtrade.